Steve, we're going to start with you on this one. About time, isn't it? Coal, hydraulic fracturing for natural gas, offshore drilling, and uranium mining are controversial in Virginia. Virginia has an abundance of natural energy-producing resources. As Lieutenant Governor, what would be your position regarding energy development, and how should the state deal with federal energy regulations, guidelines, and prohibitions already in place and on the horizon?
There is no technology even in the pipeline that would allow another coal-fired electrical plant to be built anywhere under EPA's rules. We should seek nullification efforts, no question about it. The electric cars that we're being pressured to buy get their power from coal-fired plants. So again, we should seek nullification. The fact is that I believe we should be exploring offshore, we should be drilling offshore, we should be doing what we can with uranium, we should be encouraging the coal industry. Yes, we should be fracking. I have a client that's bringing a business to Campbell County on the Mount Athos property there. That's a silica processing plant. They're going to be providing frac sand for the fracking process. I believe that we should be doing all of that is affordable and reasonable, and just as I did when George Allen was governor on his federalism task force, just as Attorney General Ken Cuccinelli is doing, we need to be willing to stand up to them. Thank you.
DW.
Well, let there be no mistake. The Lieutenant Governor has limited constitutional authority. And the strength of he or she is going to be in you. With regard to our energy situation, which the federal government has a great deal of power and control over right now, if you do not have a Lieutenant Governor that has the hearts of the people, cares about you, is coming back talking to you, listening to you, and dealing with these issues, that person is not going to be in a position to resist the power of the federal government. But if you get the people united on these issues, then you can have a real impact. And I have pledged this. I've said that Obamacare is an abomination. Its attempt through the EPA to control our property rights, an abomination. And I pledge my voice, my vote, and my very being in civil disobedience, if necessary, to stand against an overreaching federal government.
Let me give you a couple of things you may not know. Well, you do know this. The Obama administration is trying to destroy the coal industry. They're not trying to limit this industry, folks. They're trying to destroy it. And I was talking to some coal operators a couple of months ago when I was down in Southwest. If you look at the cost of the coal commodity, if you look at the cost of labor, and you look at the overall costs that those operations are dealing with, labor and the commodity have stayed flat. Yet overall it's gone up 30%. You know where that 30% comes from? Government regulation. 30% of your cheap electricity, government regulation. Folks, my folks don't like me to say this, but life is hard, but when you're stupid, it's really hard. And that's what's going on with the environmental wacko policy of this country. I would just tell you right now, I think that we need to reject this completely. We need to explore wherever we can to reduce your energy cost and the energy cost of small businesses, because if you don't, you will destroy any hope of a recovery in this country. People in the Southwest are scared to death about their future. I say enough.
I've had a lot of experience, working on these issues, having run the governor's office the past 3 years. I know you're very aware of coal, and that's been talked about a lot, but let me tell you what. They want to force nuclear power plants to exact more technology that will cost them billions of dollars for cooling. They're treating every body of water that cools, whether it's a man-made lake that has no aquatic life, or a power plant that's midway down a river that has some downriver aquatic life, the same, and that's wrong. What will happen is we call those stranding costs, the capital improvement costs that are required of a power plant. They will be so high that your utility bills will go through the roof. And the EPA is working very hard to shut down nuclear power plants, coal power plants, and the question I have for them is, how are we going to recharge the electric cars that you want all of us to drive when you've shut down the grid? Okay. Now, I think we're all in agreement here that we think that we should be energy independent, and every natural resource that we have to our advantage, we should be able to partake of. I think it's a property rights issue too. If you own that land and something's under that land, you should have the royalties and you should have a right to develop it if you want to. One of the things that I want to share with you quickly is an initiative I'd like to do should I be elected Lieutenant Governor. Currently, Leader McConnell and Speaker Boehner have asked, darn, I'll have to tell it to you another time, but I think Lieutenant Governors are horribly underutilized and can be going to Washington on behalf of governors to testify for states before committees.
Last October, this was the last week of October 2012, I had a chance to take a tour of a surface mine in Hurley, Virginia. It was operated by a company called TECO, and they were very responsible. They were making a profit, etc. And then after November 6th, you know what happened? They shut it down. They shut it down because they knew they couldn't survive in this regulatory climate. And it's not just the feds. It's not just the Army Corps of Engineers and the EPA, which Ken likes to refer to as the Employment Prevention Agency. Those folks down there are working hard to make a living for their family and also helping to make America more energy dependent are being punished by the federal government. And it's not just coal, it's natural gas, and it's offshore drilling. But here's the problem. The General Assembly, and we as Virginians as a whole, have not gotten behind them. It's not just about passing a bill, saying we're going to try to do something to counteract federal regulation. We need to be united. All of us. We're all in this together. It's not just Southwest Virginia, it's Northern Virginia, Hampton Roads, the Valley, Winchester, it's everywhere, South Side. We need to get together and we need to make a concerted effort to counteract these overburdening federal regulations.
Just because President Obama won the election does not mean that the battle is over. I believe that the fight is now with the states. And I believe Virginia can play a key role in this, but we have to have people who are in positions of leadership who are willing to lead. Not just to take a vote on a bill or to introduce a bill, but to actually lead on legislation. Maybe even lead by saying no to federal money that has too many strings that are attached to it. We need to be pursuing energy independence. Why are we relying on nuclear energy? Why are we allowing other countries to have the powerhouse in nuclear energy when we could be tapping into that ourselves here in the United States? Certainly, I am sure that everyone in this room and everyone up here on the stage wants to ensure that it's safe. But once we know that it is safe, we should be doing everything in our power to move the ball forward on energy independence here in Virginia. And I will show you leadership in that role if I'm elected as your Lieutenant Governor. As far as the battle now being with the states, you bet that there are going to be times when I would say no to federal money because I've done it in Stafford County. I sat at the firefighters union lined up in the front row when I chopped a federal grant in half. I took leadership on it, and I'll do the same thing as your Lieutenant Governor.
Vladimir Putin is sitting on a third of the God-given natural resources that the United States of America is sitting on. And you know what he does? He laughs. He laughs at us, and he laughs all the way to the bank. You know why? Because he looks across the ocean and across the world and says, you know what? The Americans are silly. They tie themselves up in knots. They contort themselves just to pay attention to the liberal special interests. They have 2/3 more than I have, and they're not even going to touch it. It's been said, but I'll repeat it. This is not just about our economic security. This is about our national security.
Right.
Virginia has been blessed. We knew that over 300 years ago when Virginia entrepreneurs started our country. It's very clear we've been blessed. But we've been blessed by God with unbelievable natural resources. We need to tap into them for our economic future and for our national security. So what I would say on what do? We need to use every legal means necessary. Period. Our future is at stake, and we need to use every legal means necessary to get the job done. And the company I told you about before, we'll talk about it later.